From the love of liberty in the fires of hope and prayer, with boundless faith in our destiny, we solemnly declare, side by side we stand, islands of the blue Caribbean Sea, this our native land. We pledge our lives to thee. Here every creed and race find an equal place, and may God bless our nation. Here every creed and race find an equal place, and may God bless our
Heavenly Father, we come before you at the start of this new day, giving thanks for life, for health, and the opportunity to serve through this station. We ask for your divine presence to guide us in all we do. Bless this broadcast, that it may be a source of inspiration, joy, and unity to all who tune in. Whether near or far, may our words uplift, our music heal, and our message bring light to those who need it most. We pray for our listeners, wherever they may be. Grant them strength for the day ahead, peace in their hearts, and success in all they put their hands to. Cover those traveling with your protection, and those at home with your comfort and provision. Lord, may everything we do bring honor to you and be a blessing to others. Guide our steps, bless our efforts, and let this station be a vessel of positivity and hope. In your name we pray. Amen.
Your voice, your soundtrack, your station. New Era TT Radio. Net Radio.
Do I walk to the valley of the shadow of death? I will fear no evil. One person in my life, me and heal. Rastafari. Though some people want to pat me down and see me as a black boy rise to the different price, so what if my merchandise? It can't work, guys. So all of you people who out there, and you know you got the enemies and the plain frenemies, they're just set up on penny way. Watch your enemies in the eye when they try to pull it down and take your merchandise. Look them in the eye and say this. No one can take blessings from me. Tell them it out flat. No one can take blessings from me. No one can take blessings from me. Yeah, no one can take blessings from me. Hold on. When it come to me blessing, there's no compromise. Make sure it lock, stock, and synchronize. Never believe that one day it would arise. When Father God would open up my eyes, put me on a chair, never realize that when a black man is start to rise, the one black brother will take the prize. Give some the talent and the merchandise. That's because them wolf in a sheep disguise. Yeah, so none of them can take the prize. Yeah, when me hear Rastafari, thank God he is higher than the heights. So no one can take blessings from me. No one can take blessings from me. Yeah, no one can take blessings from me. No one can take blessings from me. Hold on. Now let me talk it briefly and prompt. I employ the critics every week and month. If it was not for me, they would not be rampant. I'd make them stampede like elephant. So wait, let me give the critic it blunt. Every critic all your matters front. I will talk what I say and say what I want. You think that this talent come here by your son? If Father God to bless me with it back and front. So on me first year, you want me to flunk. You cut off me neck and show the end of your trunk. Yo, blessing is still coming on. So what me saying? No one can take blessing lessons from me. No one can take lessons from me.
Wake up, rise up. It's the Net Radio Breakfast Show, bringing you the energy, music, and vibes to start your day right.
And of course, this is where you start your day right here on New Era TT Radio. And we're happy to be here with you. 6 minutes to this past the hour of 6 o'clock. It is a Thursday morning, Throwback Thursday it is. I want so much thanks to the Heavenly Father for bringing us together for another day, and everything that we do, dear God, let it be a blessing unto you. Good morning, Trinidad. Good morning to Tobago, neighbors in the Caribbean, and our friends who are streaming all around the globe. Sir Charles, that is me. And of course, this is your Get Up and Go, the breakfast show.
Wake up, it's a brand new dawn. The breakfast show got the vibes turned on. From Maracas Bay to the Savannah line, let's start the day in Caribbean pride. Good vibes rolling through the air. The breakfast show, energy everywhere. We talk, we laugh, we make you think. Grab your doubles or your morning drink.
Good morning, and what a wonderful Thursday morning it is. It's a little rainy, and that's part of it, living in the Caribbean. But, it's a wonderful Thursday morning because you know why? We are that close to the weekend. We are an oomph away from the weekend. And, we live for weekends. I live for a weekend. I love a weekend. So the weekend is almost here. It begins at midnight tonight. I consider we are in the weekend from midnight tonight. So welcome to the Breakfast Show. Good morning to our listeners and viewers across the planet, wherever you're watching us from, whether it's on Facebook, YouTube, whether you're listening to us on TuneIn or on smart devices, or if you're watching us on M&E TV in Trinidad and Tobago, up the Caribbean. Welcome to the Breakfast Show. Over to you, Wendell. Let me say good morning to my co-host, Wendell, Stephen, and of course, Sir Charles.
Good morning, Richard Ragubar Singh, and good morning, Sir Charles Davis. Good morning, Trinidad and Tobago, and good morning, listeners and viewers all over the globe. It's Thursday morning. It is, in fact, a little rainy because I went outside just now to tend to my fishes, and it is drizzling slightly. So be careful on the nation's roads today, people. We are here. We are in the land of the living. Let me say happy birthday to Commissioner Earla Harewood-Christopher. She is celebrating.
Oh, right.
It's her birthday today, isn't it?
Yeah, well, happy birthday to her. And of course, she is the subject partly of our conversation this morning. In the next hour, we're going to have former Commissioner of Police Stephen Williams weighing in on the brouhaha that surrounded the entire situation of Earla Harewood-Christopher, Junior Benjamin, the Ministry of National Security, Ministry of Homeland Security, and of course the Police Service Commission. There are several people starring in this episode.
Yeah.
So those are four main characters starring.
I said we are going to dig deep into it today.
We're
going to expose the underbelly of the TTPS today.
Of course, the former commissioner was in the belly of the beast. So he understands the intersect between the Police Service Commission, the politics emanating from the Ministry of National Security under his term, and of him as commissioner and the kind of powers he has. He'll understand. He understands it. So he'll be able to give a perspective, an interesting perspective to how he saw the entire scenario. We can also ask him to weigh in on the issue of the 6-month timeline that Junior Benjamin, the acting commissioner of police, said was achievable under this current government. This new government said that in 6 months, crime would be under control. Some version of that. Yes. And Junior Benjamin, the acting commissioner of police, said it was absolutely achievable. So we'll also have Stephen Williams weighing on that too. So don't miss that next hour and that important conversation about what the hell is going on in the TTPS.
Let me also wish belated birthday greetings to Jenny Stevens. She was 75 years old yesterday. Belated birthday greetings, my darling Jenny. All right. I hope you had a wonderful day yesterday. I hope Gershwin called you. I hope Carol treated you good, and I hope the whole family treated you really special yesterday for your 75th birthday. All right.
Yeah, that's a good mark, 75. Yeah. So happy birthday to you, Jenny.
Yep.
You know.
And of course, anyone else celebrating a birthday today, have an absolutely wonderful day. Tomorrow would have been my sister's birthday, May 16th, Sandra Vivek. You all remember Sandra?
Yeah, I remember Sandra.
Yeah, her birthday would have been tomorrow. You know, it's Taurus season, you know. Nice people, I have to admit. Taurus people are nice people. I get along good with Taurus people. You know any Taurus, Richard?
I don't follow people's birthdays as religiously as you do.
Yeah,
so.
I do. I especially follow people who are Capricorn. They're troubled people. Capricorn people are troubled people.
Why I feel like you're pumping your friends?
Yeah, troubled people.
You're pumping your friends through the horoscope.
That's the most I can say. Libra people are the absolute best. You understand? Let's face it, Libra people are the absolute, especially October-born Libra. They're the absolute best.
Okay, that's a little self-aggrandizement there. But,
that's all right. If nobody else could do it, I had to do it to myself.
But
anyway, what do we have as good news today?
But you know, I keep getting these videos. I'm just when I'm stuck. There are always videos of foreigners talking about Trinidad and Tobago. So I always opt for those. So yeah, let's get into our good news for this Thursday morning.
Must-do activity when in Trinidad, and yet another reason to visit this beautiful island nation. Come with me down the islands, or as locals say, DDI. This is like a rite of passage when you're in Trinidad, and something enjoyed by locals all year round. But as a visitor for Carnival, it's something you might miss out on if you're not informed. Trinidad is actually the southernmost Caribbean island, just 11 kilometers off the coast of Venezuela. And to the west of Trinidad, there's a group of islands called the Bocas Islands in the strait separating Trinidad and Venezuela's Paria Peninsula. This is an easy day trip from Chaguaramas and such a fun thing to do as a big group. I always thought going DDI was just an activity for bougie people, but it's actually pretty reasonable to charter a boat for the day. Swim, jump off the boat, spot turtles, and just have the best time. Have you ever gone DDI in Trinidad? Let me know in the comments and follow for more.
All right, so you know, just a little part of something that you may not have done as a Trinidadian, and we're going is to go down the islands.
I've done that in a while.
I've done it a couple of times, and you know, you visit the abandoned site of that hospital that they used to have for leprosy, which has been featured in a couple horror what you call it,
thrillers.
A horror movie would have looked at it, and also there was it was the episode of I can't remember the name of the television series about supernatural stuff around the planet, and it featured that island. Is it Shaka Shakari?
I really don't know.
The one with the abandoned hospital where you could actually tour the hospital, and it's very eerie and very
Shakari sounds familiar.
And it's very abandoned. It's where they kept leprosy patients in years and years ago in the 40s or 30s or 40s. And there's also an abandoned church there through some bush, like a small church, because it was run by nuns. And so it has a very eerie quality about it that could make your paws stand up, you know. Very eerie and strange, but interesting nevertheless. And I remember we went there and we went with a French guy who came to the theater, and he was almost semi-Trinidadian. He so loved Trinidad. And after a play, he invited all of us to go, and we went. And of course, you use a smaller boat to get to the island, but you're kind of close, so we said we're going to swim. Some of us are going to swim. 3 of us decided we're going to swim. Myself, my dear friend Clifford Lehman, may his soul rest in peace, and Dr. Helma Hillwick.
Mm-hmm.
So 3 of us go. Of course, Helma, whoosh, Dutch born in water. So whoosh, he's gone. So Clifford and I now were swimming to the shore. All of a sudden, Clifford says, "Richard, I cannot make it."
Oh, dear.
I said, "What?" He said, "I cannot make it." I said, "Clifford, are you BSing me?" He said, "No, I cannot make it. I cannot make it. I cannot make it. I cannot make it." Of course.
Why are we laughing?
I don't know. Of course, at this point, the little boat now with the rest of the people who say, "Yeah, let them 2 idiots swim to shore," but we can just, go. So this boat is now chugging along with the rest of them, Deborah and the other actors, waving at us. So I am saying, hey, Clifford, hey. And they waving back, yeah! And I'm saying, no, this can't be happening. So, but somehow there was something in what I was saying and how I was doing it that picked up on Deborah. And Deborah said, "No, I think something is wrong. Let's go by them."
Yeah, she saw the
So
fear.
something that was wrong. So they came around, and of course Clifford clambered inside the boat. And I continued. We weren't that far from shore, so I just continued. A few inches, a few feet from shore, when you can get off the boat and walk. Clifford gets off the boat, goes back in the water a little bit, and then comes ashore swimming.
Maybe I Watson joke.
I'm sorry, like Clifford.
You get a Watson joke there?
What's the Duke special?
My dear friend Clifford, may he rest in peace. But that was one of my island adventures, down the island adventures. So it's something to do if you have never done it before. It's actually quite interesting. So
last time I went down the islands was actually to a line that MP Scotland had. On New Year's Day too, we went and caught the boat down Shagarama. That was about 2-3 years ago, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
It was on New Year's Day. I remember that. That's how I spent New Year's Day one year. It was coming out of COVID now, So that's the only time I've been on the islands in years.
Yeah. But it can be fun. So of course, as we said, we have a packed show for you today in terms of our interview with Stephen Williams, former Commissioner of Police, in the next hour. Of course, this is the point at which we get into the nitty-gritty of the show. And of course, we start off by greeting all of the people in the comment section. Of course, you can send comments from Facebook and YouTube, and we get it immediately in real time. And Wendell is now going to give a big shout out to all of the people who were here so early.
Well, guess what? Suzanne Jessup actually got in at 12:01 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that something?
There she is.
Suzanne Jessup, good morning. God Almighty and His Son Jesus Christ, we give you praises for another day granted you, O Lord. Good morning, Sir Charles Richard Wendell. Love always from Suzanne, Suzette, and Gemma. Magic, whoever that is, that's a new name. Grand Rising, gentlemen. Chanflair Militia, from Chanflair says good morning. Marlon Motley also says good morning.
I would say such a good morning to Marlon again. I would say it, yeah.
Boy Bidesi, Valerie Mendoza, Miss Dabady, Patricia Defoe, Cheryl Johnson, Robert Taylor, Ingrid from Tucson, Sherwin Kerr from a wet Arima, Joyce Phillip, Rena Jennings, Jerry Dollaby, born and bred Arimian, proud of that boy. Carol Guevara, Katian Charles, Wayne Ramsey, Lambert Bruce, Diane Payne. I'm speeding through it this morning, Richard. Miguel Gonzalez, Mrs. R, romantic, intense, and passionate lover. Why are you typing in caps like champion of democracy? You can't fool me, Terrific Tuesday morning. Lindsay Hero, I always wanted to say good work, Sir Charles, Richard, and Wendell and Richard. God is in your message. Lindsay Krishna Hero, all right? Gavin Frank, Julia Batiste sending birthday greetings to her son, Joda. He's 90 yesterday. All right.
Happy birthday, Joda.
Happy birthday, Judah Batiste. Hillben says, good morning, gentlemen. Michael Mapp also says, Grand Rising. Miguel Gonzalez. I said Miguel already, I think. Ghost Hunters, Richard.
Right,
Finally,
I've
Miguel
nailed
was
it.
in. Right. Ozzy Molino, Doreen Pierre, Slick Money Grip, Shelly Ann Raghunath, thank you for that early morning laugh, gentlemen. You're most appreciated. Well, you could trust to get a lot from Richard. Sometimes you just have to pay though to get it. Like go and see Married Miss Mischievous. You laugh all night. Michael Robinson from Yokohama, Subash Mangal, Scorpion Pepper, Richard Jeremiah, Ron DeSantis Jr., Andrew Joseph, Lennox Francois, Chris Toussaint, and Marcia Rock. Those are all our early morning greetings. Of course, we'll get into some more a little later on, but we have a chock full program for you this morning. We'll play a little video and then we'll get into the TTPS. We're really getting into the TTPS this morning because guess what? Mrs. Earla Harewood-Christopher, instead of reporting for duty, that we all thought that was going to happen, and she has been sent on 66 days vacation leave by the Ministry of Homeland Security.
Yep.
And
After consultation with the Office of the Attorney General. So, and we were discussing it this morning, and we weren't sure, and maybe Stephen Williams can help clarify that first, whether the Ministry of Homeland Security was actually the correct agency to direct Earla Harewood-Christopher to go on leave.
Yeah.
Because the terms and conditions and the approval of you as a commissioner emanates from the Police Service Commission.
Police Service Commission alone.
Yeah. So. And usually it's a commissioner who can direct subordinate staff, you need to go on leave, etc., because commissioners have that kind of power. So we weren't sure. So we're not saying it's wrong, but just saying that we weren't sure whether the Ministry of Homeland Security was in fact the appropriate agency to direct her to go on leave.
Well, you know what? There was a lot of conspiracy talk yesterday. And when we play this video for you, you'll get a sense of it. We'll explain it. You want to do it now, Richard?
Whatever you say, sir. You know, you're in control of the program, huh?
Sometimes.
Madam Commissioner, may I just suggest, if the body cams are provided to these officers on these exercises and they're not doing it, institute disciplinary action against them. Make an example and people will fall into line. Remember, Richard, your last question?
Chairman, with the greatest of respect, I think for you to have to tell the commissioner to do that is very surprising. I would imagine if it is policy and policy should be followed or some corrective measures should be taken.
Final, a word to the wire.
I appreciate that.
Third question.
Final question, and this is a really off-topic question but related. Is there a particular mandate for Beyond the Tape? Is there a particular mandate for the Beyond the Tape show? And I ask the question in context that very often I hear utterances in that show that are in stark contradiction to what the police leadership is saying. And it is very surprising to me. So the police leadership says one thing about gangs, the show is saying we're giving the gangs a bly. So I'm confused. Is there a mandate for that show? And does the show take instruction and policy and public dissemination from the police leadership? Because very often I have heard contradictory information from the police leadership and from what I see on that show. And I don't know which one to believe.
The show should be a replica of the thoughts and sentiments of the executive of the organization.
Is that happening?
There may be times when the presenter is a bit adverse to the thoughts of the organization.
The presenter representing the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service on a national broadcast, very popular show, in uniform, and you are telling us he is averse to what the leadership is saying, that is a shocking revelation.
I'm making my comments based on what you would have said.
So no one is monitoring the show from leadership perspective?
Yes, the show is monitored by the corporate communications.
Are you satisfied with what is coming out of the show? As the head of the police service?
At this time, no.
You're not satisfied, and it continues.
It has been, no, actually the show is being reviewed.
Okay, thank you.
I've had discussions.
No more, no further questions.
Madam Commissioner.
No. No.
I mean, the poor commissioner had to. She was. I should say poor commissioner, but you could see that Commissioner Earla Harewood-Christopher, at that point, is searching for the correct words to not step heavily on proverbial toes. So she is searching. She's searching. How do I answer this question? Well, it follows TTPS policy. Yes, it's supposed to be monitored.
But you see, it goes a little deeper, because the very next day after that GSC, Beyond the Tape did not come on air. And people started to wonder. And eventually the show came back on air, but in a kind of subdued way. And
wasn't it a different presenter at that point?
Yes, that's what I'm saying. So it came back, but with a different presenter. And then there was all this speculation around the host, because if people remember who the host was, it was in fact the now Minister of Homeland Security, Senior Superintendent Roger Alexander. He was the host of Beyond the Tape quite a long time, up till that day.
Yep.
You understand? And he was eventually, along with other officers, sent on vacation leave, all the leave that they accrued. I think his leave was 700 and something days, if I'm not mistaken.
He might still be on leave.
In excess of 2 years.
But he might still be on leave.
No, he resigned. He resigned. You're right. He may still have been. It may still be within his leave that he resigned, and now a minister. Now the minister. So a lot of speculation took place back then. How the other officers who were sent on leave, it was all to treat with Roger Alexander. It wasn't about these other people, but it was to treat with him. You understand? And the fact that he was going against, allegedly going against TTPS policy.
Yeah, right? Yeah. He was being a little off the script.
Yes. So that happened, and now this is happening now, where Mr. Roger Alexander, we can't call him Senior Superintendent again. He's now Mr. Roger Alexander, right? Or
he's Minister Alexander. He's Minister Alexander. Yes.
He's now the Minister of Homeland Security, in charge of the same TTPS, where this commissioner just got exonerated and is about to go back in the office and
sit down. And about halfway down in the seat.
Yeah, she literally pulling her skirt and fixing it. Richard,
yeah, they hold up. And stop. I say, go on vacation. Go on vacation.
Don't sit down there.
Take your 66 days. Take your 66 days. Out.
Which is something I want to explain to me, because somebody posted this yesterday too, and I asked, maybe the 66 days, all right, she was suspended in January, right? Because of this investigation, right?
But Wendell, first of all, before you get into that, I don't know how that works. Because if your contract comes to an end yesterday, midnight, let's say at midnight last night, because today is your 60th birthday. Is it a 60th birthday today?
Yes, 60th.
Right. So your contract comes to an end yesterday. The normal requirement for public officers in the rest of the public service and the rest of the public sector, behemoth that it is that you take your leave before your last day.
Right. Prior.
So if you're now taking those 66 days How is that being construed?
Richard, that is what I questioned yesterday too on Facebook. Maybe the 66 days had to lead up to May 15th. It can't come after or during or close to May 15th. It had to lead up to May 15th.
Well, it's supposed to. You always required to take your leave, whatever leave you are owed, approaching the end of your contract. So, because at the point that your contract ends, your contract ends.
Yeah.
So
Some
they can't
say
say
that the chat is for 63rd birthday. Someone saying 62 and one saying 63rd.
Yeah,
right.
she's
So,
60.
yeah, but if your contract, but the issue is a contract date ended last night.
Yes.
At midnight. How are you? What measure are you giving to those 66 days?
Yeah.
Are you buying her out? I could say, okay, we're buying out your 66 days and your contract is at an end, because that's to me where you needed to go. But they said, go on your 66 days. So are you extending?
So is it that this contract has been extended?
Are you extending a contract and saying, you now have 66 days, go on, and then you could come back? It's a puzzle. It's a puzzle.
Yeah, it is. It is a puzzle. It is a puzzle. Because maybe if she wasn't suspended in January, that 66 days would have kicked in prior to May 15th.
Yeah, but we're in the middle of legal proceedings.
Right. Right.
So
no, let's assume nothing happened in January with her. You understand? The allegations didn't come up, the arrest didn't, the detention didn't take place, the charges wasn't back and forth and whatnot. Let's say that didn't happen. I'm assuming then that she would have gone on 66 days leave prior to May 15th. Anyway.
That would be the ideal. That would be the ideal regular public service methodology. When contracts are coming to an end, you're required to take whatever accrued leave you have that leads to the end of that contract.
Right.
Because vacation leave cannot roll over unless it's a specific term of your contract. It cannot, but it cannot roll over if a contract is coming to an end.
They have made a real mess of this, you know. They've made a real mess of this, you know.
Or maybe it's explainable and we just not understanding what the explanation is.
Well, somebody needed to do that yesterday, that missive that came out from the Ministry of Homeland Security. Because I don't know, our question this morning is, should they have been the ones to send her on vacation leave?
Yeah.
You
to
understand?
me, the appropriate agency, if the commissioner, because you had an issue of who the actual commissioner was, because of the rescinding and what the court said and the kind of slow-moving Police Service Commission, because the Police Service Commission, is under heavy scrutiny, but a heavy scrutiny is not a reason for lethargy. Because you are afraid to make decisions because you know you're going to be monitored. It's not a reason.
Yeah.
So
Richard,
just make a decision and issue the letter. But it became uncertain.
Yeah, well, you wonder now if after the court decision that said she is to be reinstated, right? That the Police Service Commission won't contact it and say, "Hey, don't send no letter there, no. We going and we seeking advice on this." And the advice came from the Attorney General that she be sent on vacation leave. But
Wendell, the Police Service Commission commissions are constitutionally protected as independent creatures under the Constitution. A Police Service Commission does not have to take direction from any minister. A Police Service Commission could get the information, but they don't have to follow it.
True.
They can say, look, this is what we think the correct process or procedure is. But it became even murkier because you had two commissioners and the media was following it, glued like it was a reality TV show. What the hell is going on? Are there two commissioners? Are there not two commissioners? Is Junior Benjamin stepping down? Is he not? And of course it became this murky waters. And then the Ministry of Homeland Security, their defense, was trying to just clear up the uncertainty. The Ministry of Homeland Security is just trying to make sense of the entire mess.
Yes. Yes.
and said, look, well, go on the 66 days leave. But can you, if your contract is going to end?
Yeah.
I mean, maybe I said, I'm putting a caveat. Maybe this is explainable via some policy that I'm unaware of. But so let's wait and see.
Pamela Elder, senior counsel, is going to have a field day with this matter. That's how I see this thing. She's going to have a field day with this matter because all right, you've embarrassed the poor commissioner. Let me don't stop saying the poor commissioner. The commissioner of police, Earla Christopher, was embarrassed in January. Okay, suspended. Okay. Now that the matter
Wendell, the commissioner wasn't just embarrassed, you know.
Mm-hmm.
This wasn't some little village town meeting where somebody cuss you out and you get flushed and you walk out the meeting, you know.
Mm-hmm.
This was international news.
Yes.
A commissioner of police was detained / arrested in a country called Trinidad and Tobago because of some alleged misbehavior. That's international news and international reputational damage.
Mm-hmm. You know what? And you know what is consistent in all this? Because people now can't say is PNM alone embarrass her because she's now being embarrassed again under a different government. Why are they doing her that? I mean, I don't know no brief for Commissioner Christopher. And when I eventually tell my story down the road, you're gonna find out why. I will no brief for her, but she shouldn't be going through this. Nobody should be going through this level of embarrassment by any government.
But you know what? This is the point at which we could take some calls before we head to our morning poll. Oh no, wait! I have my headlines.
Headlines.
Hey! Walking down the road. Excuse me, walking down the road to get newspapers. So let me just go. I bought the Guardian, Newsday, and Express only to realize the man is selling. No, he's selling yesterday's Guardian. But you put in yesterday's Guardian in the pile for. Because people just grab up the newspapers and leave. So what you have yesterday's Guardian there for? You know.
Next, go down the road tomorrow with a camera. Let me expose him.
No, yeah.
Someone of you guys have a fan or something on, right?
Yeah.
No, I don't have a fan on.
It's kind of blowing in somebody. But go ahead, Richard.
All right. Your show's not by you, Sir Charles.
Somebody was heavy breathing by somebody. By me. Show that.
All right, the Daily Express for today. The front page, Earla gone. That's the headline that the Daily Express went with. Police Service Commission lifts suspension, but Homeland Security sends top cop on immediate vacation. Earla gone. And then the main picture is bang, bang, guards kill robbery suspect at Long Circular Mall, which was also a story that was circulating yesterday. So pictures of that. On the back page, Gypsy bows out of NCC, the right thing to do. Mogit has concerns over 151 million social development headquarters. To me, it's already being built. Just finish it. Because it's pretty far gone.
Which building is that?
Social development. That's at the corner of Victoria Avenue and Dragmeet Road.
Yeah, and then there's the building. There's a building too for the socially displaced downtown, South Key. You know, I was asked Minister Mohit about those buildings yesterday. But when we speak to her again.
But I get the issue of maybe wanting to query it, but to me, finish it. Don't stop it because it's going to cost us more in the long run.
Plenty more.
Just let it be done and let them move in and get and hopefully it's going to be more comfortable for the vulnerable who have to visit some of those offices of the social development. So maybe it'll be really comfortable for them. Sports, Cuba clash, Carter versus Blackman at long course champs. Fuentes joins UEFA Academy alumni and TDDF rout Fatima 11-0.
What?
You need a most powerful word than rout for that. 11-0 in TTHB Outdoor League. The front page of the Newsday today, top cup term ends, but government sends Earla on leave. I'm sure there are PSs that are confused. PM, I wish Gary Griffith the best. And there's
What's
a
that
picture.
about?
I don't know. I'm just reading the headlines. You know that, right? And with Christopher, there's a picture of here with Christopher shaking hands with Dr. Rudal Munilal as the front page. And on the back page, TT host in there for Deaf Cricket Tour, making noise for those playing in silence, and Central Sports Premiership title. So that's it for our two dailies this morning, because I got a bogus Guardian, yesterday's Guardian, which I already have. So obviously I have to pay attention now when I'm getting newspapers. So that's it for our two dailies this morning. At this point, we can take some of your calls before we enter the morning poll. And just in case you did not know the numbers, here you are. So you can call us at 281-1315, 281-1315, and we know you have opinions on this entire situation. Of course, you can WhatsApp call us from anywhere on the planet, or you can direct call us at that number. The lines are now open, so you can call us. And of course, good morning again to all our listeners and viewers in Trinidad and Tobago, up the Caribbean, and across the planet.
Right. Okay. So good morning to you, caller.
What's that noise in I'm hearing it to know, Sir Charles.
Yeah, but it's only on your line I'm getting it.
My line?
Hello?
Caller, go ahead.
Yeah, good morning, gentlemen. Folks, you're here again. Hey, you know what? It is, you already dodged the bullet, oh my God, with that woman. I'm sorry, that woman being the police commissioner. I heard the audio, but this is the first time I've seen the video of her. No wonder she never did interviews. And this is, to me, what is known out here in the US as DEI, so-called DEI, diversity, equality, and inclusion. This is just give the best man or woman the job. And even the now government was involved in that too, because here it is, the current prime minister, then opposition leader, goes like, oh yes, I'm so happy to have, the first woman commissioner. Just give the best man or woman a job. And we all know she wasn't the best. You know what? You remember Dorothy from The Wizard of Oz, right? When she get blown back into Kansas. Today, if she gets blown back into Port of Spain or even Washington, D.C., she would find that you would have many individuals with no brain, no heart, and no courage. I'm sorry, this is unbelievable. And now the new Keystone Cops in charge, which is the current UNC, handling this situation. You all are between the devil and the deep blue sea boy. Anyway, have a good day, gentlemen.
All right, take care.
I don't know why. I don't know what he has with DEI, and obviously he's on the Trumpian bandwagon with regard to DEI. But Earla Harewood-Christopher would have been selected from a process via the Police Service Commission in terms of a list of whom is pushed forward to Parliament to decide who the Commissioner of Police is. And Parliament, and particularly the Prime Minister, has the power of veto over that list and who is eventually selected. So the comparisons are way off, and so that's all I would say on that.
Paula, good morning to you.
Good morning, gentlemen. Gentlemen, excellent breakdown of the imbroglio with policy use. Excellent breakdown of the imbroglio of the Police Service Commission. There's just one part only leave out. Now, Earla Christopher was given her letters of reinstatement yesterday. So we have to assume that Mr. Benjamin letters of appointment was revoked.
Hold on, you giving us news that we don't know?
I saw she was, that is how she was able to go back to her desk, wasn't it?
No, she was sent on vacation.
No, but she at some point in time, wasn't she given a letter of reinstatement?
We don't know if that letter came, That letter was supposed to come. That was
I don't think it ever came. I mean, unless you saw something we didn't see.
Yeah,
I saw something on social media. If I'm wrong, I stand corrected.
Yeah.
If I'm wrong, I stand somebody to tell me. But I thought she was giving her letter of reinstatement, so that means Benjamin's letter of appointment would have been revoked. If that happened, notice the words I'm using carefully, I'm not saying that it did. I just saw something on social media. Social media doesn't give it the accurate information all the time. Right. If that happened now, and then she was sent on leave, that means you would have to give Benjamin a next letter of reappointment to acting commissioner.
Yeah, but I don't think I don't think that letter ever came. So Benjamin is still acting commissioner.
That whole issue of that letter, Lincoln, is uncertain.
Yeah.
It was in the public sphere that she was going to be given the letter, and it became a confused situation because you weren't sure what the Police Service Commission was doing with regard to the decision of the court. So it became murky. Yeah. And they're saying that if it is that she was vindicated and she had an appointment letter, and she had to get a letter to sit back in the office, and it became a confused bureaucratic administrative mess.
Well, you know what? I like the fact that you all brought it up this morning. It seemed to be tit for tat that Roger Alexander finally get the opportunity. They say Cameron is a BIH. You send me on leave the day after Paul Richard, after you begged me to come back because I was sent on leave prior. No, you had it wrong, Wendell. The senior officers were sent on leave prior. They brought back Alexander, and then after this interview with Paul Richards, they sent him home permanently this time. So he was greatly embarrassed.
They never sent him home permanently. They gave him his accrued leave, which was 700 and something.
No, I'm talking about off the show. Mm-hmm. Right? So he was greatly embarrassed. So he finally get the opportunity now to.
Well, we don't know. We don't know that's the reason, Lincoln.
Well, we don't know that the reason, but it certainly is a strange coincidence that now I'm in the position to send you on leave, and that is exactly what I did. Although your contract finished, and that's what you spoke about there, suggests gross misconduct. Anyway, I know I'll let other callers get a chance.
Yeah. But our question this morning is: should the letter of vacation leave have come from the Ministry of Homeland Security and not from the Police Service Commission? That's our question this morning, and that's what we're going to get into.
You decided we're moving to the poll now?
No. I'm just saying that's what we will ask.
Oh, okay.
Keep up with the show, no?
No, because you're forecasting the poll, so I'm like, are we moving to the poll now? Because that's usually the segue.
You know who I was sick on you, right? Tea room chat.
Caller. Yeah, good morning. Good morning, young.
Yeah, good morning, caller.
Yeah, go ahead, caller.
Yes, my issue is I think I just happy the lady getting her pension because I was disappointed. She took a second term and she wasn't able to command the respect of our police service. Now they could clearly see that she was being sidelined and she wasn't able to command that respect. But happy it's good right now. She'll get a little pension and whatever. God is good. Regarding the building that's being built, I will not find it too much. I should finish it, but in the future we should consider if it's a building like that where we deal with socially displaced people who need help from the government, spending hundreds of millions of dollars on a building, they get to spend it directly on some kind of direct intervention program for the people should be considered, and that's just my view on it.
That's a good way of looking at it. Should we have been spending all this money on a building as opposed to giving it to the people themselves? That's a good way of looking at it.
Remember that building was, thank you, and that building was on I think the corner of Simpsons. No, that's Richmond and Duke Street.
No.
The social building is on Richmond.
Victoria and Trackgate Road.
No, that's the new one, that building. He's talking about the old one.
The old one is on the street.
I drive in there usually every day, and you will see the kind of people line up outside, they're waiting, and they come back and wait. And
the old one is on Vincent Street, down from Globe.
Yeah.
So I really hope it work out. But you need to consider that in the future. Take care, be safe.
Yeah, man.
Well, I think sometimes, you can chew gum and walk at the same time. So you have to approach. Remember, you're also dealing with rental, which is, I think, what the government was thinking. Rental, getting rid of rental, actually owning buildings. and also making it comfortable for citizens to enter and stuff like that. Sometimes facilities are not exactly the most comfortable. So, I mean, I agree that cost needs to be controlled. Because I was always confused. You're building a little walkover, and all of a sudden it's like 5 million. And I'm like, what? How is a walkover?
Steel, the price of steel going up.
I'm like,
steel and concrete always going up,
Yeah, we don't speak in thousands of dollars in Trinidad to do anything. It's always millions.
Caller, good morning to you.
Yeah, good morning, caller.
A blessed good morning, gentlemen. A blessed good morning. It's nothing surprising. The woman going on, she leaves, she still get paid. She money still go on. But it's
but it's embarrassment. Why are they embarrassing her like that?
That is it, embarrassment after embarrassment. That is why she go down clean the coffers. When they done with them, are you sorry? I was related to share like girl or something too. But anyways, gentlemen, you all have a blessed, beautiful day today. I know the show will be epic because of the commissioner we had from before will be on, and I know Richard done high questions and line up already. And it's all about the jam.
It's a court. It's a court.
Thank you very much,
So I'm coming into this morning.
That's all. That is pretty mad, right?
We have to thank Mr. Williams for joining us. He's taking time to speak with us, and that in itself is, gracious.
All right, caller. Morning, welcome.
Good morning, caller.
Yeah, good morning.
Morning.
Yeah,
go ahead.
Caller.
Good morning.
Caller, we are hearing you. Go ahead.
Yeah, he's listening to his device. That's
why. Listen to us on the actual telephone.
Listen on your phone.
The police service, all this time, the concerns of women sign a form because the approval for firearm license will be a commissioner also. So the investigation is just checking to see if she's following the protocols or she's signed a form. How the hell that can be taking 4 or 5 months over a year? If that's the case, then how they could solve a murder without to find witnesses and evidence and all kind of thing? What
Well, I don't know that it was just about that, but let's assume you are right, caller. It's not only that; it's that after all of this, you didn't have enough evidence. The DPP said you did not have enough evidence to charge, so that she's vindicated, and then it leads a whole. It's like you push down a domino, and all the other things start to fall down and start to cause, and it's on a run, and so it led to different decisions that had to be made that basically caught people unaware.
So it's almost like and these are her words, she said in the interview the other day, she feels vindicated. So it's almost like you vindicate her and then embarrass her all over again. You understand?
Yeah.
That's what you're doing.
You should try to get Earla Harewood-Christopher on the program and talk. I know she's going to have a conversation with her attorneys, what she can and what she cannot say.
Yeah.
But maybe we can try and work on that.
Yeah. By the way, tomorrow our guest will be Minister of Local Government and Rural Development, the Honorable Khadija Amin. She will be our guest tomorrow. All right.
Okay. Good morning, Ms. Sampson.
Minister of what you said?
Local Government and Rural Development.
Oh, okay.
Hold on 1 minute, guys. Ms. Sampson, go ahead.
Good morning, gentlemen. What is the meaning of Homeland Security? Is everything in America coming on to bring here anyhow? You see the situation, it's a tit for tat. You all need to have Roger Alexander on the program. Let him say why they did what they did.
We'll have him. We'll get him one day. Don't worry.
And one other thing. Yesterday I went by for a river. Nobody working in Trinidad.
You wasn't.
Music, swinging here, gas tank here. The place was full. It's middle of the week. And the day before when Marco reached, the place full. Who working in TNT? And anyhow, you don't have a good day.
All right.
People have all manner of jobs. People can work from home. People have different working hours. The work is done, right, Mrs. Sams?
Good morning to you, caller.
Good morning. I'm calling from Ariba.
Good morning.
Yes, I don't have a question, but my train of thought is that I am under the impression that if a new contract is given to the goodly commissioner, apparently she appears like she's willing to accept it. And I am saying, after all that is said and done, take your money, take your pension, and go home.
Okay.
That is my advice to her. Thank you.
Yeah, but that'll be up to her and what her. I suppose part of her, if she was to be offered another contract, I don't think that's going to happen, obviously. In the current scenario and all of the egos now at play, Wendell, I don't think that's happening.
No, that's not happening.
But if it was, if you were to go down that road, I think she just wants the vindication of sitting in the seat again and saying, I am the commissioner of police, establish that, and maybe resign or retire a little bit later. I think that would probably be her intention. But of course, she may have a payday coming because she's suing the state.
And send the DCPs and ACPs down Erin and Laloon and
okay, now you're getting vindictive. but yeah,
it's a possibility, Wendell.
Yes, that's exactly what she might want to do. I was shipping them out.
Anyway, we have our poll to get to because it's getting close to 7 o'clock. So our morning poll this morning: was it appropriate for the Ministry of Homeland Security to direct Commissioner Harewood-Christopher to take 66 days leave? So we are going to the part of, do you think that was the correct agency? We are not sure. So we are asking your opinion. Was it appropriate for the Ministry of Homeland Security to direct Commissioner Harewood-Christopher to take 66 days leave? That's our poll this morning. You may start voting now.
Yep, and we want lots of votes on this one, eh?
Lots and lots of votes.
All right, you ready?
Yep.
Ilarizan, no. Marlon Motley, no. Diane Payne, no, it gone to the muscle. Okay, that's not a vote. Magic, no. DL from... Okay, T. Ansel Rockaway. Stephen Grant, not. Absolutely not. Andrew Joseph, no. Rena Jennings, no. Michael Oliver, no. CJ from New York, no. Michael Robinson from Japan, no. Boy Bidesi from Debe, no. No, he's saying, Boy Bidesi is saying no, yes. Yes, he said, sorry. Richard Jeremiah, no. My apologies. Boy Bidesi is yes, okay?
Yeah, I got it.
Alistair Hart, no. Shane John, no. So Charles, you have any on your end? Yeah.
I have a call and then I'll call. How do you vote?
Good morning. Hell no.
Hell no,
All
Mr.
Shane John, no. Carol Guevara, no. Miguel Gonzalez, yes. Ron DeSantis, no. Wayne Joseph, no. Wayne Ramsey, no. DL, no. Scorpion Pepper, not sure. Susan Jessup, no. Kazim Mohammed, no. Any other
Good morning to you.
Hi, morning.
Morning, caller.
Carol here, but I was trying to get this call before you started taking the poll.
Now we're in between
answers.
the poll right now. What say you on the poll?
Well, I already voted, so.
You already voted.
All right, thank you. Carol, have a
Island Girl, no. Diane Payne, no. Susan Jessup, no. Well, I think I called Susan Jessup already.
No, I can't remember you calling.
Don't call, okay.
So Joyce Phillips says no. Black Pearl says hell no. Pauline says no. Sexy Red says no. And that's it for now right now.
Michael Williams, no. Some people keep voting. You have a minute and a half, well, half a minute again.
So was it appropriate for the Ministry of Homeland Security to direct Commissioner Harewood-Christopher to take 66 days leave? That's our poll question this morning on the Breakfast Show.
Sherwin Kerr, no. All right. Of course, we will get a clearer answer on that in the next hour when we interview former Commissioner of Police Stephen Williams, who's also an attorney at law
Yeah, but he will have his own opinion on but maybe he could clarify because, as I said, he was in the belly of the beast. So
You calling the TTPS a beast, Richard? Is that what you're saying?
no, belly of the beast is a figurative term. But tell me something.
Well, you might be right, though. Eh?
Any further votes before we head to the 7 a.m. news?
No, that's it there. Let's do 7
Not on
o'clock.
my end, but for all the people who want to vote, all you vote in between the news.
Yes.
So when we come back, we'll
continue
get
to
your vote. We'll wait until we come back then to start a vote again. By that time, we'll wrap up the vote.
All right, so it's time for our 7 a.m. news.
The news you need, the clarity you deserve. Local, regional, global. This is Net Radio News Now.
This is your news update for Thursday, May 15th, 2025. I am Amanda Mitchell with New Era TT Radio and M&E TV. The Ministry of Homeland Security has announced that Police Commissioner Earla Harewood-Christopher has been sent on 66 days of vacation leave, which she had reportedly accrued, despite yesterday being the final day of her employment contract. In a statement released yesterday, the ministry indicated that Junior Benjamin, who was appointed on February 6th as the Acting Commissioner of Police, will continue to serve in that capacity. The arrangement will remain until the ministry receives notification of a change in status from the Police Service Commission. The statement concluded by commending Harewood-Christopher for her exemplary service spanning 4 decades, noting that her dedication and leadership have significantly contributed to the advancement of public safety in our nation. Minister of Sport and Youth Affairs Philip Watts has ordered a full audit into the hiring of over 60 contract workers, many reportedly linked to the People's National Movement under the previous administration. The audit targets recent appointments made under the formerly merged Ministry of Youth Development and National Service, led by Foster Cummings, and the Ministry of Sport, previously under Shamfa Cudjoe. In a telephone interview, Minister Watts described the situation as obscene, revealing that many hires lacked proper qualifications, yet received high-paying contracts, some with salaries above $26,000 per month. Once we have people who are not qualified getting these jobs, and when I saw the salaries they were being offered, I was quite surprised, said Watts. He expects to receive the audit results by the end of the week. Acting Commissioner of Police Junior Benjamin has confirmed that the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service is actively investigating allegations made by former Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley regarding sexual exploitation involving unnamed members of Parliament and their associates. The investigation was prompted by communications specialist Pierce Robinson, who formally requested police action following Rowley's public statement made in response to a social media post by former Foreign Minister Dr. Amory Brown. In a letter dated May 12th, Robinson described the allegations as grave and deeply troubling, arguing that any suggestion of such serious misconduct, particularly from a former head of government, warrants swift scrutiny. Robinson emphasized that if Rowley had knowledge of such abuse and failed to report it, that could amount to misbehavior in public office. Minister of Public Utilities Barry Padarath, Minister in the Ministry of Public Utilities Clyde Elder, and Minister of Education Dr. Michael Dowleth met yesterday with Acting CEO of the Maintenance Training and Security Company Limited, Edila Elahi, and members of the MTS management team. Discussions focused on areas of mutual cooperation between the Ministry of Education and MTS, including the maintenance and repair of the nation's schools during the July-August period and the construction of new schools in the upcoming fiscal year. The meeting also explored support and collaboration required from the telecommunications services of Trinidad and Tobago for the government's laptop distribution program, scheduled to launch in September 2025. Both MTS and TSTT fall under the Ministry of Public Utilities, which the ministers noted presents an ideal opportunity to create necessary synergies for effective implementation of the government's programs. In regional news, US-based Accelerate Energy has completed the acquisition of New Fortress Energy's operations in Jamaica, marking a major step in its downstream expansion strategy in the Caribbean. The company has acquired several key energy infrastructure assets, including the Montego Bay and Old Harbour LNG terminals, and the Clarendon Combined Heat and Power Plant. The closing of this acquisition represents a significant step forward in the execution of Accelerate's downstream expansion strategy, said Stephen Kobos, President and CEO of Accelerate Energy. Jamaica's Prime Minister Andrew Holness welcomed Accelerate's entry into the local energy market, saying, "Today marks a significant milestone in Jamaica's energy journey." Founded in 2003, Accelerate Energy offers a full suite of liquefied natural gas services and operates globally. In international news, Russian President Vladimir Putin will not attend today's Ukraine peace talks in Istanbul, despite calls from Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky for a face-to-face meeting. The Kremlin has announced that presidential aide Vladimir Medinsky will lead Russia's delegation instead. Zelensky, who will be in Ankara to meet with Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan, had expressed readiness to meet Putin personally to help end the war. U.S. President Donald Trump, currently in Qatar, hinted he might join the talks if Putin did, saying, "If we could end the war, I'd be thinking about that." The United States is sending a high-level delegation, including Secretary of State Marco Rubio, who arrived in Turkey last night. This will mark the first major diplomatic meeting on Ukraine since 2022. That concludes your news update for today. I'm Amanda Mitchell for New Era TT Radio and M&E TV. The Breakfast Show with Wendell, Richard and Sir Charles continues right after this short break.
That was news now. Stay informed with New Era TT Radio, Net Radio.
Mid-morning just got better. Join Sir Charles for the mid-morning mix and mingle, where good music, real talk, health, and family matters come together, and your voice is heard. Whether you're at work, on the go, or just taking a break, this is the perfect mix to keep you engaged, informed, and entertained. The mid-morning mix and mingle, weekdays, 9 a.m. to 12 noon on New Era TT Radio, Net Radio.
People often think about wellness in terms of physical health, nutrition, exercise, weight management, etc. But it is much more. Wellness is a holistic integration of physical, social, emotional, spiritual, intellectual, financial, occupational, and environmental state. Join our host, Terry Ann George, a health coach, author, mediator, and CEO of the Institute of Health and Fitness, as she discusses 8 elements with several professionals within the various dimensions of wellness. So let's kick burnout to the curb for good.
Join Terry and George for Dimensions. Fridays at 11 a.m. on New Era TT Radio, Net Radio.
Mornings just got better. You're locked into Net Radio Breakfast Show, fueling your day with the best music and real talk.
Well, it is a morning vibe with a fresh energy. And of course, I know you're feeling that energy. Welcome inside our number 2. Of course, this is your wake up show, the breakfast show right here on New Era TT Radio. And of course, let's tune in and see what the weather is going to be like for today.
Good morning again, Trinidad and Tobago. This is your weather update for Thursday, the 15th of May, 2025 from New Era TT Radio and M&E TV. Today, sunshine will be interrupted at times by cloudy spells with a few light to moderate showers or rain. There is a low to medium chance, about 30 to 40%, of heavier showers or thunderstorms in a few localities. We have 2 important weather alerts for you today. First, gusty winds and street flooding are likely in the vicinity of heavy downpours, so please exercise caution if you're traveling. Second, a significant concentration of Saharan dust is expected overnight. Persons sensitive to this change in air quality should take the necessary precautions to protect their health. Temperature-wise, Trinidad can expect a maximum of 29 degrees Celsius today with a minimum of 25 degrees Celsius. In Tobago, the maximum will reach 30 degrees Celsius with a minimum of 25 degrees Celsius. With humidity factored in, the heat index will make it feel like 33 degrees Celsius in both Trinidad and Tobago. So while it's cooler than recent days, it's still important to stay hydrated. Sea conditions are moderate with wave heights of 2 meters, occasionally up to 2.5 meters in open waters. In sheltered areas, expect waves below 1 meter, though waters may become choppy near showers. The sun rose this morning at 5:43 and will set at 6:20 this evening. For those planning maritime activities today, high tides in Port of Spain will occur at 4:56 this morning and 6:18 this evening, with low tides at 11:56 this morning and 11:28 tonight. In Scarborough, high tides will be at 4:35 this morning and 5:51 this evening, with low tides at 11:30 this morning and 11:03 tonight. This has been your weather update for today. Remember to stay safe during those potential heavy downpours, be prepared for possible street flooding, and take precautions if you're sensitive to Saharan dust, particularly overnight. From all of us at New Era TT Radio and M&E TV, have a wonderful Thursday.
Port of Spain, we are finally here. RSRR Productions, Married and Mischievous, finally comes to Port of Spain at Queen's Hall for 2 nights only on Saturday the 24th of May, 8:30 p.m. and Sunday the 25th at 6:30 p.m. Come see the play that everybody's talking about, strictly for adults only. The Scandalous, Married and Mischievous at Queen's Hall. Tickets available at all our usual outlets and at the Queen's Hall box office. This is not just a play, it's an experience. Don't miss it.
S&H Rumbox, 137 Western Main Road, St. James, for all your retail and wholesale needs for alcohol and non-alcoholic beverages. Call us at 686-0599 or visit us at 137 Western Main Road, St. James. S&H Rumbox, drinking out of the box.
Advertise with us on New Era TT Radio, the fastest growing streaming platform for talk in Trinidad and Tobago. Audio and video ads welcome. Elevate your brand with us. Connect with us at newerattradio@yahoo.com or call us at 299-5156. Now what are you waiting for?
All right, we are back after the 7 o'clock news. Richard Raghubasing, are you there? He's not there. He has not put back on his system as yet. So Charles, are you hearing me?
Yeah, I'm hearing you very well.
All right. I think
very well.
I don't know what he's doing.
With no but
I'm
no
seeing.
distortions or anything. You're back at the inside.
Yeah. All right.
Yes,
So we have some more. We have some more votes. Of course, our poll was: do you think it was appropriate for the Ministry of Homeland Security to? Is he trying to call you, Sir Charles? He's calling somebody. For the Ministry of Homeland Security to give Earla Christopher her vacation leave letter. And we had lots of votes before the news, and we also have some after the news. But I just have to wait and find out what's going on with Richard. Richard?
Yeah.
All right, are you there? Let me mute his mic. All right, I'll put him back on stage, but he's I guess he's trying to get something sorted out. So we have some other votes. We would have had Sherwin Kerr just on the 7 o'clock news. I think I gave Richard that one, but we had Lester Cragwell also saying definitely no. Amit Kumar, yes. Una Antwine, yes. Annie Bunyan says no. Far Rockaway says he didn't vote there. Romantic says yes. Cheryl Henry didn't vote. Lester Cragwell says no. Again, didn't he vote up there? Yeah, he said no. All right. We also have Far Rockaway saying yes. Joyce Phillip King saying no. Lyndon saying no. Sherwin White saying good morning. Arch Nemesis, okay. And Finbar Collins is also saying no. I think totally inappropriate means no.
Yeah.
All right.
I think so. And but I don't know if
Richard, are you there?
If he's scoring and whatever is the situation, because I have three.
He's back on. Yeah.
Yeah. Whatever he is doing at this point in time.
Yeah.
But
Richard, are you there?
Right.
He's
you're noticing that here, before, right? So yeah. So let's hope that he's sorting out that situation on his side, because while we are here, we are not hearing anything now. Yeah, it's gonna come in and go.
I better mute his mic, in case he
says
something.
Before he says
he could say, he could bust out some cuss words.
Obviously, I am doing something that you all should recognize instead of asking me if I'm there. Obviously, I'm doing something, and it's to do with our interview, because Mr. Williams just called me.
Oh, but you couldn't say that?
How could I say it if I'm dealing with it? So you all should recognize from a professional point of view that obviously he's dealing something with the guest.
No,
continue with the show.
It more looked like if you were having technical issues.
No, I was dealing with that, and I was dealing with different calls.
Did you get
read the room? What happened to you and Sir Charles? Read the room. And if there's something like a buff, it is.
Well, yes.
You know, Deborah and them just make out with you now.
I tell you, reach. Yeah, all right.
I'm going to say how I do that. I was going to identify somebody, but let me not do that. No, I know. Mr. Williams called me and said he wasn't seeing the link, and so I was trying to
So
I don't know if he's watching on. Maybe he needs to check. Sometimes it goes into junk.
Yeah.
So sometimes you have to check.
Yes.
Spam or junk.
You mean for the email?
Yeah.
Yeah. But did you get my votes, Richard?
I was trying to do that at the same time. I was trying to multitask and take down your votes. I think you gave about 3 no's or something like that.
Yeah, it's about 3 no's, one yes. Far Rockaway says yes.
Yeah, and I myself have 3 no's also, Richard. One from Sean Ram, no. Nikisha says no, and Anand says no.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Let me just tell Mr. Williams I sent it again. So I did send it again. So I was just trying to resolve that.
Right.
No problem. No problem. We understand,
resolve that. You take the poll. That's the case.
All right. Let me give the poll results at least, because our poll this morning. Let me just bring it back up. Our poll this morning was it appropriate for the Ministry of Homeland Security to direct Commissioner Harewood-Christopher to take 66 days leave? And of course, that was our poll. We had 39 people voting on the poll this morning in the allotted time. And of the 39 people, 36 of you said no. You don't think that the Homeland Security, Ministry of Homeland Security, was appropriate in terms of relaying that 66 days leave. 3 of you said yes, you think Homeland Security was appropriate. So the vast majority didn't think it was appropriate. So we'll see how it all plays out. I know Mr. Williams is joining us now. I'm now seeing him backstage. So I'll bring him in shortly. Do you have anything else you want to say, Wendell, before I bring in Mr.
I have one more note.
Oh, yeah.
Well, that will take us to 40, so it'll be 37.3. Yeah, it will take us to 37.3. But at this point, let's move straight into our interview with Stephen Williams, former Commissioner of Police, in our Let's Talk segment on The Breakfast Show. So good morning, Mr. Williams.
Pleasant morning.
Yeah, and thanks so much for joining us on The Breakfast Show this morning and taking the time to speak with us. We appreciate it.
Appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah. Morning, Commissioner Williams. You know, once a commissioner, always a commissioner.
Good morning, Mr. Stevens.
Oh, you're good. All right.
I'm okay.
Nice. So, well, Richard, you start off.
Well, Commissioner Williams, do you still carry the title? Let's clarify that first.
Well, no.
So you don't. So Mr. Williams,
was they carry titles after retirement in the police service now.
Well, let's start off with our poll question, which we asked our listeners today whether the Ministry of Homeland Security was the appropriate agency to send Commissioner Earla Harewood-Christopher on leave. Because we were having that discussion this morning about whether that should have either come from the acting commissioner, which was a difficult thing because you didn't know who was the commissioner at a certain point because it was vague, or whether it should have emanated from the Police Service Commission. So that's one question. And part B of that question, Mr. Williams, is if your contract is at an end, how can they tell you go on 66 days vacation leave? Isn't it more correct to buy out your leave than to send you on it because your contract is now at an end? If you could weigh in on those 2 points.
The first one is that the ministry, and whatever name we call the ministry at this point in time is Homeland Security. The Ministry of Homeland Security will be the responsible ministry for sending a commissioner of police on vacation leave. That's provided for in the regulations. So in the law, it is provided for. That's where the commissioner leave is facilitated.
So it is in fact legal that the Ministry of Homeland Security would have had to do that.
Yes, that's the law.
Right. So explain now the part B of the question, because this is the worrying part. This is the concerning part, that the commissioner's contract was expiring last night at midnight, as far as we are aware. How then could you send her on vacation leave at this point in time?
Well, by implication, she could only proceed on 1 day vacation leave, by implication. So sending her by way of letter on 66 days vacation leave, that cannot happen. She can proceed on 1 day, so therefore the period of 65 days, she would have to be paid for it.
Okay, so in effect, even though the letter says 66 days, she only really has one day vacation leave.
Yes, that she can proceed on.
Is it that the other 65 she'll be paid for?
I didn't hear the last question.
Yeah, is it that she'll be paid for the other 65 days?
Yes, she will.
Okay.
So it's really a buyout of a leave.
Indirectly.
Yeah, because I was making the point, Mr. Williams, that in the rest of the public sector, the usual protocol is if a contract is coming to an end, you take whatever accrued vacation leave before that contract comes to an end.
That's correct.
So that having vacation post the contract, it has to be an approved buyout of your leave. I can't send you on leave because you're no longer employed with me.
Correct.
So
why was that necessary then, in light of the fact that her contract was ending anyway?
Why? What was necessary? I didn't hear
The
that.
letter from the Ministry of Homeland Security. Why was that necessary?
I can't say why the Homeland Security Ministry would have issued the letter that they issued, and in the way that they issued it. What was actually critical is that from all indications, when the matter was dealt with in the court, and I'm responding here by way of what I would have read and basically heard from the interviews on television. The attorney for the Service Commission had given the assurance that the commissioner, if you want to say suspension, was being lifted by the Service Commission. And is in those circumstances, you expect that she would have been issued a letter from the Service Commission so indicated. That did not happen until I am reading yesterday evening. And in these circumstances, I can't speak to the delay. Why till yesterday evening around 6 or 6:10 p.m. that occurred. So I am in a position that I can speak on what is reported as against what would have been around the decision. But what is critical is that the Service Commission has the authority to lift the suspension. The ministry has the authority to send the commissioner on vacation.
Yeah, because we didn't know whether the ministry had that authority. So that was one of our talking points. We weren't sure. But
it's in the regulation. So it's not me speaking that. It's in the police service regulations.
Okay, getting back to the whole issue, because of course this issue started with Earla Harewood-Christopher as a commissioner of police being detained / arrested, because and of course, which was not only local news, it was international news because it's a commissioner of police, and it played out and eventually ends with the DPP saying you don't have sufficient evidence. As a former commissioner, how did all of this read to you? Because on social media you have a lot of conspiracy theories about it was vindictiveness. People don't like her. That some of them are jockeying for positions. You had all manner of conspiracy theories on social media. But in terms of you looking at it through the lens of a former commissioner of police, how did it all play out to you in your opinion?
Well, I would put it in this way. It was very, very much irregular for something like that to occur. We have to understand the implications for the whole organization and country. Generally, even if we are dealing with a normal suspect in the society, not because you have reasonable suspicion that you will arrest anybody that you have reasonable suspicion about. That's not how investigations are conducted. And therefore, if we take it up one notch, if it's not conducted as a normal thing in normal investigation, if we take it up one notch, a high office holder, you would be even more cautious. And what is obvious from the entire situation is that at the point in time when the commissioner was arrested, there was nothing more than reasonable suspicion to ground the arrest. There was insufficient evidence to establish a case. You expect that if you're moving to arrest the commissioner, you would have gathered sufficient evidence to prosecute her, and the direction would have been interview her on arrest. She has the right to silence, and whatever she says would have been under caution. If she says nothing, then you complete the process by charging her. That is not what took place. Obviously, months of investigation continued still without sufficient evidence being generated.
Mr. Williams,
so would you say, sorry, Wendell, would you say then that the entire process as it emanated from the TTPS in handling the detention / arrest of Earla Harewood-Christopher was in fact foolhardy, not in accordance with proper policing?
Well, I can adopt your word foolhardy, and I will endorse that it wasn't consistent with proper policing.
Well, so my question in relation to all of this to Mr. Williams is, wouldn't the police have also been charged with those kind of allegations over the years in terms of arresting and sometimes charging people without the proper evidence?
Well, I can't speak to that. We have to go into specific cases because there would have been matters over the years for which persons would have been exonerated in the court and would sue the police department and would have received redress from the courts. So I can't speak in a loose way. We have to speak in specific terms. So the police service as an organization, there would have been incidents where persons have been arrested and charged, and it was proven that they had insufficient evidence.
And I'm glad you said that, because in some instances, it might be because of the vindictiveness or whatever personal relationships that an officer would have had against a citizen, but that officer doesn't pay the price at the end of the day, does he or she?
Well, again, we have to deal with specifics, and the point I'm making is that in a particular case, you may have an officer being disciplined. In other cases, you may have the situation where the officer was not disciplined. So it has to be specific.
Okay.
So if we accept that this entire situation, which you have stated, it was not in accordance with proper policing, what kind of message is that sending to the other police officers down the line? Are you concerned in terms of, because this happened at the upper echelon, you don't get hired in this, in terms of the police service, would you think, in your opinion, do you think, or are you concerned that the rest of the TTPS would be demoralized or be reading this in a way that doesn't enhance the motivation of the TTPS?
Well, I would be concerned, and I believe a lot of the officers also would have been concerned with that entire situation of the arrest of the commissioner with insufficient evidence to prosecute her.
Yeah.
So it could have a demotivating and demoralizing effect.
Do you think personally, there's a personal opinion I'm asking you, and you're free to not answer, do you think it was personalities involved rather than evidence?
I can't say, because I would be going to judgment without an appreciation of some important facts. So I can't say if it had to do with personality. I know for a fact there was a national situation for which the then Prime Minister publicly spoke, and I don't know if that triggered the investigation and all the circumstances from where the triggering took place. It wasn't like the police service of its own volition just went into an investigation. It was clear. I listened attentively to what was said by the former Prime Minister, Dr. Keith Rowley, on the political platform, and he spoke to that very said matter, and clearly it was triggered by the government at the time.
Well, I'm happy you almost answered my next question, because Richard asked if it was personalities involved. I was going to ask you if there was political interference involved, because I think I remember the incident you are speaking about, you are referring to, which is when the former Prime Minister criticized the police for closing down certain police stations in the night, and people calling and can't get through to them. And Ms. Christopher, as commissioner, immediately responded to it that was not so. Do you think that is what triggered it?
Well, that is not what I was speaking about. I was speaking about on the campaign for election. He was on the platform and he spoke specifically about the issue of that quote-unquote sniper rifle and how the involvement of government and the direction that he gave in relation to that matter. So that is where I am speaking. I'm speaking specifically to that on the platform.
So you're talking post the suspension. I was talking pre the suspension.
Yeah, I'm talking post.
Okay, all right. Okay.
Is it that I know the Ministry of National Security, as it would have been at the time, of course it's now split, but the Ministry of National Security at the time would give certain policy directions, I guess, to the TTPS, but ultimately the TTPS is supposed to be an independent investigative body. Are you satisfied that the TTPS is insular from political interference, or you think sometimes those lines are crossed?
Well, obviously there are numerous times when the lines would have been crossed over the years. What is critical is the office holder. Whoever is sitting as Commissioner of Police, that's the person at the top of the organization. That's the person to ensure that the lines are not crossed.
What is your opinion of the splitting of the Ministry of National Security into the Ministry of Defense and the Ministry of Homeland Security? Do you think that's a plus in terms of dealing with the crime situation in Trinidad and Tobago?
And justice too, eh? It's a three-way split.
I would say yes, because the Minister for Homeland Security can have his total time spent with I could call it laser-like focus on the police service and its functions, as against having that massive ministry which involves so many other departments, the defense force, the immigration, and so many other agencies and departments.
Yeah.
Mr. Williams, a former commissioner of police is on record as saying that he got calls from government ministers about who to give firearms to, or requests for firearms and so on, requests for firearm users license. He got those kind of calls. You would have spent, I think, if I'm not mistaken, the longest tenure as a commissioner of police in this country, right?
No, in recent times.
In recent times, okay, all right. In recent times, would you have ever received those types of requests from people in government?
Well, are you speaking about the former commissioner of police being Gary Griffith?
Yes, I am.
Well, I'm on record. I'm on public record indicating that yes, I have received, and he was one of the persons from whom I received. When he was Minister of National Security.
Well, I didn't know that.
We didn't know that. Yeah, we didn't know that. So you're saying that you do receive requests from government officials from time to time?
Yeah, you do, and you expect that would happen. The point is that you need to know your job. When you sit in the office of commissioner, you need to know your job. You're not there by accident. You're supposed to be there because of your knowledge, your experience, your expertise, your capacity to lead the organization, Trinidad and Tobago Police Service. We fail to recognize that that's one of the toughest jobs in Trinidad and Tobago, being a commissioner of police. We fail to recognize that.
Yeah. I take it that it is a difficult job in terms of managing, and it's also a very scrutinized job because of the crime situation that we are having. And which leads me to the question that the Prime Minister indicated that within 6 months they would have the crime situation under control. And
well, I don't think that is what she says.
What she said?
I think what she says is that she is expecting that in 6 months' time, Trinidad and Tobago must be safer than it is today. Well, so that's different to have the crime situation under control.
Now, you think her statement is more vague? Is that what you're saying?
If what?
Are you saying her statement is more vague?
Yeah, because yours is specific. Because crime under control has plenty implications. We will not be having the kind of murders that are taking place. So 2024, there were 624 murders. That's the highest in the country's history. So if crime is under control, you do not expect Trinidad and Tobago to be experiencing anything over 300 murders. It must be less than that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I take that point. Yeah. So you're saying you're saying that the Prime Minister chose her words carefully in being a little bit obscure in what she meant with the parameters of what she meant by that. Is that what you're saying?
Well, I'm not saying that, but I would say that what she said is consistent with setting a target for the police service to look at, and once the police service is given the necessary tools, equipment, and support, it is now the mandate for the police service to seek to have Trinidad and Tobago safer in 6 months.
But Junior Benjamin, the acting commissioner, said it is achievable.
Do you believe it is?
Well, I'm sure he would say that if you're sitting as commissioner of police, whether your mandate is tall or your mandate is short. The point is that you are the one in charge. You must be able to deliver. Saying that it is achievable, I myself most likely would have said it is achievable because that is possible. In 2012, when I took over the police service leadership, the organization most likely would not have thought that by the end of 2013, we would have seen the largest decrease in serious crime in the country's history. 4,694 serious crimes less in 2013 than in 2012. That is 26.3% reduction in serious crime. Has never happened in the country's history. Now, that is significant. So it is achievable, but it was achievable because one of the things that the government provided me with when the present Prime Minister, who was then Prime Minister, in asking me as the head of the organization, what do you require instantly to make the difference? And I shared with her, I require high mobility. How much vehicles you require? I told her at that point in time, 300 vehicles. The government gave the police service the money to purchase 300 vehicles. In fact, we were able to get 330 vehicles from the assignment of the money. What occurred after that? What occurred after that is that we changed our patrol policy. We approached police in Trinidad and Tobago in a different way. In fact, you had the publics at the point in time complaining about too much blue lights all over the place. It's affecting them. But it affected the criminals too. And it affected crime in Trinidad and Tobago too. And that is where we got the support of the government with the resources. We put it to use and we were able to achieve significant results. So I'm saying it's achievable, but you must get the resources.
Well, I mean, I don't know that the police service on the whole could complain about resources over the years, and especially with regard to vehicles. But I want to get back to the inner workings of the police service. One of the divisions charged with the responsibility of investigating errant police officers is, in fact, the Professional Standard Bureau. At one point in time, the Professional Standard Bureau was lauded and acclaimed in terms of the results that they were getting. It has fallen off badly over the years. What do you think is accounting for that?
I don't know, but everything starts with leadership. Putting the right people in the right places. That's the starting point. So I don't know who is heading the department now, and so I can't speak to what are the reasons. But I would say, as a person who has certain expertise in leadership, I would say it starts with leadership.
So it will probably, because Ms. Suzette Martin was in fact head of the PSB for a number of years, huh?
And are you saying that during her time it was efficient, or during her time is the situation where it ran down?
Well, certainly at the beginning of her tenure it was efficient, but I can't say for the end. And we have had several changes at the head of PSB since, and it is it is almost non-existent now.
Okay.
In terms of, I mean, well, you would have navigated political transitions, a political transition during your tenure. What advice would you give Acting Commissioner Benjamin about maintaining, independence while working with a new government that will be eager for quick results?
Well, what is critical for Acting Commissioner Benjamin to do is to stay honest and stay firstly true to himself. He's a person who is well grounded. He may not necessarily have the experience today in leadership, but experience comes over time. So as he grows in the office, he will get the necessary experience. But he has to be conscious that he has to stay grounded. He has to have an appreciation of his role and his responsibility. And he has to stick with his responsibility and don't cross the line. You see, critical for him to understand is that his constitution provides complete power for him to manage the human, financial, and material resources assigned to him. He's in charge of the police service today. It's quite distinct from long time prior to 2006, where the commissioner was so dependent on everybody else, even by way of delegation of power. He is the person holding certain power and authority under the constitution for the police service. So he has to appreciate that. And he has to appreciate that the government is responsible for the policies. He is responsible for implementing those policies. And when you reach the confrontational point where you are totally dissatisfied with this direction that the policy of the government will take the country, if you are so dissatisfied that you feel that you should not implement them, then it reaches the point for you to retire or resign.
Mr. Williams, do you believe, outside of, we would have had Dwayne Gibbs at one point in time as Commissioner of Police here, who came from Canada. Outside of that, we have had career police officers, except for Gary Griffith, who came outside of the police service. Do you think the time is right that we should look outside again of somebody who didn't come up through the ranks and who may not be compromised by the batch mentality?
Well, the point is that we continue to make those utterances and ask those questions. Other than Gary Griffith talking about how successful he has been, if you examine his tenure, you would recognize that is shallow. That statement of his success is shallow. So I'm saying there is no justification for people to, at this point in time, say, well, the police service cannot be well served with a person who is a career police officer leading it. What is critical is about equipping persons to lead the police service. And if you are effectively equipped and you come through as a career police officer, you can be as effective as the country would want. And that can be shown.
Why are you saying that the success of Gary Griffith was shallow?
Well, what was the success? You tell me what was the success.
Well, he repeats it a lot of the times.
When he came into office, if you check what he said, we'll judge him by. Do you recall his utterance? Judge me by the murder rate.
Yeah, but is it a fact or not that the confidence
let's start there. No, let's start there. Judge me by the murder rate. Have you looked at the figures?
Well, he said the murder.
No,
well, the murder rate did.
The
murder rate did go down, but some people attributed it to the state of emergency at the time.
No,
so
that's for when? When was the state of emergency? Did he come into office for the state of emergency?
It met him in office.
Right. What happened prior to the state of emergency? And that's the point I'm making, that you all do not analyze. You take the words. So that's why I use the term. It's shallow because people just listen and take the word and say, well, is this correct? Let me analyze. He came into
So
office.
what? So well, then inform us. What was wrong with the statistics then?
What was wrong? The statistics are there. Is that you all are not looking at it.
I know, but
You're
you're
just
saying that it was
looking at
shallow.
the state
You
of
made the point.
emergency.
You
Because
made the
you
point.
continue to boast about things which were not achieved, and nobody is questioning, are these things correct?
But according to the data, in terms of the people's confidence in the TTPS, did the confidence of the people in terms of polling that was done, did the confidence of the citizenry of Trinidad and Tobago go up under his tenure? Yes or no?
The polling done by whom? Who did the polling?
Well, we were on radio at the time, and we were questioning people, and people felt better at the point in time.
So are you saying that people did not feel better under his tenure? Is that what you're saying?
Well, I cannot speak to that. I'm saying who did the polling? The polling that you're speaking about, who did it?
We did polling here on radio.
Yeah, the Police Service Commission would have done their own polling too, I think, in terms of their matrix of how they would have assessed him. I think that was some of the data was from there too.
And you see, we into supposition and as against fact. Have you looked at the Service Commission's data?
So you're saying that there was not an increase in confidence?
I'm not saying that.
Then what are you saying?
I'm not saying that.
You started off saying you said he was shallow.
And I'm saying yes, because if you talk about driving crime down and you look at the data, you would recognize that the only time there is any feature of a reduction in crime is during the period that we were under COVID-19 restrictions. And what you would see is that an increase in murders and crime over the periods which we call normal periods. And I'm saying if you analyze it, it's not being unfair. I'm saying if you analyze it, then you'll recognize what the very said data is telling you.
So you don't think his tenure did much?
Well, I'm saying no, it didn't do much because I could highlight key things. I can pick out all the positives and highlight those. I need to be looked out in a whole package. There are the negatives, there are the positives.
Were there any positives under Gary Griffith's tenure? Were there any positives under Gary Griffith's tenure, in your opinion?
I'm sure there would have been under each person who led the police service.
No, asking your opinion. I don't speak
and I'm
vaguely.
saying yes, there would have been. If you go to the police service right now in the front, you would see a listing of all the persons who passed away. That's a positive. Putting there a role of the officers who died in the line of duty. That's positive. That impact the police service. Officers felt good about that. And I could go on and identify others.
But Mr.
And that's by being fair to somebody. That's by being fair to somebody. I can do that.
Now you would have commented earlier on and boasted that during your tenure, 2012 and so on, people were seeing a lot of blue lights and they were saying, "Oh, it was an overkill." Mr. Griffith has also made the same claim, eh?
No. You missed. You see, and that's the sad thing. You missed the point I made. I said that there has been never in the history of the police service such a significant reduction in serious crime in Trinidad and Tobago as occurred in 2013. You are missing the point. You pick up the blue lights alone.
But Mr. Griffith made the same
claim. Just now. I'm saying you missed the key point. If you go through data, there has never been such a significant reduction in the history of the police service.
Okay, I understand that point.
That's the key point.
But I can't speak to that point. I'm speaking to the other point that you made. He also made that boast, and
the blue lights is not a boast. I'm saying the blue lights was a reflection of the level of mobility because we got 330 vehicles. We changed our patrolling policy with a clear emphasis on crime prevention. And crimes were prevented. There was this most significant reduction in serious crime in the country's history. And that's not just an idle boast, those are facts.
Yeah. Because, if we speak to other former commissioners, they will probably boast that during their time also, that it was in fact the best time for
No,
crime.
you're missing the point, Mr. Stephen. You're missing the point. We are talking about the very said statistics and data.
You're quoting data, actual data.
Right. And I'm telling you, 4,694 less serious crime in 2013 and 2012 is the biggest drop in serious crimes in the country's history.
But you're using a statistic saying less crime. You're not saying what the crime was. You understand? So it's also a play on words.
No, it's not a play on words. It's not a play on words. How do you assess, just as we talk about safer, how do you assess something being safer if you don't assess what was there before?
Because in my world, one murder or one serious crime is one too many, and that's why I've never attacked ministers of national security or commissioners of police in that aspect, because I understand that their job is challenging and that even one incident will paint you in a negative light. I understand that, So I've stayed away from those sites of attacks that other people use on commissioners and on ministers. I've stayed away from that. So I can only speak for myself in that aspect.
And that's fair. If that's your position, that's fair.
Guys, can I ask Mr. Williams a question? Mr. Williams, a couple of days ago, there was an article, and this is Sir Charles here, right? There was an article in one of the newspapers talking about a person who was wrongfully arrested and over a particular time got like $1.2 million accrued over a certain time. And
right.
Justice C. Prasad was making the point, which he has made in the past, that it is time they should look at the police being accountable, and when they do things like that and make wrongful arrests and the state has to pay, that the police should be paying either part of that or get that responsibility when they do things like that, or if they try to frame people unnecessarily and that sort of thing, it is proven. How do you see that? Is that something that you could identify with, would support, and how will that impact if it is imposed on the police service?
Well, I just want to say in the first instance, I'm unaware of the decision that you're speaking about. So I wouldn't speak to the decision, but I'll speak to the issue that you are alluding to, the issue of whether police officers who would have gone out of their way to act improperly and illegally, they are brought before the court, whether they should stand the consequences by whether it's a court order specific to them or they continue to stay fully protected. And I'm saying that is a matter for which there should be some level of revision of the law, because the law is what restricts the officer from facing the consequences of his wrongful act. However, in revisiting it, we need to understand that officers will be carrying out their lawful duties at times, and there may be consequences for carrying out the lawful duties, and therefore in revisiting the law, you have to balance the revisit.
But I know it's just about 8 o'clock, and this is where generally we'd have to end the interview. I know some of the callers probably want to interface with you, but I didn't know if you were willing to take some calls, Mr. Williams.
No problem.
Certainly some people on the chat are quite busy, and somebody Googles under the name Timothy YouTube Johnson really putting out these statistics here, Mr. Williams, that may dispute some of the things that you've been saying. Because he said...
One of the things I would say is that he has to be putting out statistics which are the organization statistics in the public domain.
Mm-hmm. Well, I would imagine this person would have done research. And just tell Dean Allen, we do our interviews the way we see fit, to get the information out from people. We understand your suggestions, but please allow us to do it our way, right? Thank you. So we opening the lines for Mr. Williams. Is that we taking a couple calls, Richard?
No problem.
We can take a couple of calls before we go to the 8 o'clock news.
So, people, if you have to do that, you have to do that very, very quickly, and you have to do that now. Right?
Yeah.
Mr. Williams, as far as the police vehicles and damages and that sort of thing, officers who damage vehicles, is there any assessment where officers are asked to pay, or is it still that the state picks up that burden on its own?
Well, generally the state it takes the burden, and that's an area for which there can be the revisiting. That if an officer is careless in carrying out his duty and driving recklessly, and the vehicle is damaged, there should be a change where he's made to pay for the damages. But that's not the present position, so there is a requirement for a change.
Well, Mr. Williams, we certainly have to have you back, because trust me, coming out of this interview, we are going to get opinions left, right, and center from people. So, but we must have you back.
Yeah,
and
but
we
that's
really want to thank you for taking the time to share with us this morning. Yeah. All right. I might see you in Australia again next time.
Well, I don't know. Australia is fun. It's expensive, and you don't go there free. I went there out of my pocket.
You didn't pay for it.
So, if offered a position with the government, Mr. Williams, would you accept?
I can't say. I've been contributing to the police service since I've retired. I've shared it publicly. Even when Gary Griffith was Commissioner of Police, I assisted. When Jacobs, I assisted. Christopher, I assisted. Yesterday when I was speaking and I couldn't take the offer, I was going to San Fernando to do 2 presentations for the officers in San Fernando, which was under the supervision of the Acting Commissioner of Police. So I assist all the time, right? So that is generally free. So that is voluntary service provided to help to see if the police service can progress. Yeah. Right. So I can't speak to that.
All right. I appreciate it very much.
Yeah.
All right. So thank you very much, sir, for joining what is inarguably the best breakfast show on radio.
Thank you very much for the invitation. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks so much for joining us. We appreciate you taking the time to speak with us, Mr. Williams.
Sure. Have a good day.
All right, great. So,
at least between 2012 and I think 2018, Mr. Stephen Williams, all right, joining us on the breakfast show and weighing in on a lot of things. I mean, he would have raised the issue of statistics.
But then can I ask you to pause, because we have to go to our news? We're a little late with it, so just get it out of the way, and then we come back to whatever you need to say.
The news you need, the clarity you deserve. Local, regional, global. This is Net Radio News Now.
This is your news update for Thursday, May 15th, 2025. I am Amanda Mitchell with New Era TT Radio and M&E TV. The Ministry of Homeland Security has announced that Police Commissioner Earla Harewood-Christopher has been sent on 66 days of vacation leave, which she had reportedly accrued, despite yesterday being the final day of her employment contract. In a statement released yesterday, the ministry indicated that Junior Benjamin, who was appointed on February 6th as the Acting Commissioner of Police, will continue to serve in that capacity. The arrangement will remain until the ministry receives notification of a change in status from the Police Service Commission. The statement concluded by commending Harewood-Christopher for her exemplary service spanning 4 decades, noting that her dedication and leadership have significantly contributed to the advancement of public safety in our nation. Minister of Sport and Youth Affairs Philip Watts has ordered a full audit into the hiring of over 60 contract workers, many reportedly linked to the People's National Movement under the previous administration. The audit targets recent appointments made under the formerly merged Ministry of Youth Development and National Service, led by Foster Cummings, and the Ministry of Sport, previously under Shampa Cudjoe. In a telephone interview, Minister Watts described the situation as obscene, revealing that many hires lacked proper qualifications yet received high-paying contracts, some with salaries above $26,000 per month. Once we have people who are not qualified getting these jobs, and when I saw the salaries they were being offered, I was quite surprised, said Watts. He expects to receive the audit results by the end of the week. Acting Commissioner of Police Junior Benjamin has confirmed that the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service is actively investigating allegations made by former Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley regarding sexual exploitation involving unnamed members of Parliament and their associates. The investigation was prompted by communications specialist Pierce Robinson, who formally requested police action following Rowley's public statement made in response to a social media post by former Foreign Minister Dr. Amory Brown. In a letter dated May 12th, Robinson described the allegations as grave and deeply troubling, arguing that any suggestion of such serious misconduct, particularly from a former head of government, warrants swift scrutiny. Robinson emphasized that if Rowley had knowledge of such abuse and failed to report it, that could amount to misbehavior in public office. Minister of Public Utilities Barry Padarath, Minister in the Ministry of Public Utilities Clyde Elder, and Minister of Education Dr. Michael Dowleth met yesterday with Acting CEO of the Maintenance Training and Security Company Limited, Edila Elahi, and members of the MTS management team. Discussions focused on areas of mutual cooperation between the Ministry of Education and MTS, including the maintenance and repair of the nation's schools during the July-August period and the construction of new schools in the upcoming fiscal year. The meeting also explored support and collaboration required from the telecommunications services of Trinidad and Tobago for the government's laptop distribution program, scheduled to launch in September 2025. Both MTS and TSTT fall under the Ministry of Public Utilities, which the ministers noted presents an ideal opportunity to create necessary synergies for effective implementation of the government's programs. In regional news, US-based Accelerate Energy has completed the acquisition of New Fortress Energy's operations in Jamaica, marking a major step in its downstream expansion strategy in the Caribbean. The company has acquired several key energy infrastructure assets, including the Montego Bay and Old Harbour LNG terminals and the Clarendon Combined Heat and Power Plant. The closing of this acquisition represents a significant step forward in the execution of Accelerate's downstream expansion strategy, said Stephen Kobos, President and CEO of Accelerate Energy. Jamaica's Prime Minister Andrew Holness welcomed Accelerate's entry into the local energy market, saying, "Today marks a significant milestone in Jamaica's energy journey." Founded in 2003, Accelerate Energy offers a full suite of liquefied natural gas services and operates globally. In international news, Russian President Vladimir Putin will not attend today's Ukraine peace talks in Istanbul, despite calls from Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky for a face-to-face meeting. The Kremlin has announced that presidential aide Vladimir Medinsky will lead Russia's delegation instead. Zelensky, who will be in Ankara to meet with Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan, had expressed readiness to meet Putin personally to help end the war. U.S. President Donald Trump, currently in Qatar, hinted he might join the talks if Putin did, saying, "If we could end the war, I'd be thinking about that." The United States is sending a high-level delegation, including Secretary of State Marco Rubio, who arrived in Turkey last night. This will mark the first major diplomatic meeting on Ukraine since 2022. That concludes your news update for today. I'm Amanda Mitchell for New Era TT Radio and M&E TV. The Breakfast Show with Wendell, Richard and Sir Charles continues right after this short break.
That was news now. Stay informed with New Era TT Radio, Net Radio.
Port of Spain, we are finally here. RSRR Productions, Married and Mischievous, finally comes to Port of Spain at Queen's Hall for 2 nights only on Saturday the 24th of May, 8:30 p.m. and Sunday the 25th at 6:30 p.m. Come see the play that everybody's talking about, strictly for adults only. The Scandalous, Married and Mischievous at Queen's Hall. Tickets available at all our usual outlets and at the Queen's Hall box office. This is not just a play, it's an experience. Don't miss it.
S&H Rumbox, 137 Western Main Road, St. James, for all your retail and wholesale needs for alcohol and non-alcoholic beverages. Call us at 686-0599 or visit us at 137 Western Main Road, St. James. S&H Rumbox, drinking out of the box.
Great news, Caribbean. The Breakfast Show is now on M&E TV, bringing you entertaining conversations, vital information, and influential perspectives throughout Trinidad and Tobago and across the Caribbean region. Catch us on Digicel Channel 20, Flow Channel 111, Amplia Channel 117, Blink Channel 109, Tricode Channel 154, and Airlink Channel 10. The Breakfast Show connects with the Caribbean and Trinidad and Tobago like never before. We're now on M&E TV. Advertise with us on New Era TT Radio, the fastest growing streaming platform for talk in Trinidad and Tobago. Audio and video ads welcome. Elevate your brand with us. Connect with us at newerattradio@yahoo.com or call us at 299-5156. Now what are you waiting for?
Of course, we're just about
Richard,
wrapping
hold
up.
up. I have some breaking news.
Okay.
I have to read this.
Give it to me.
It reads, Defense Minister Wayne Sturge has ordered that the itinerary of Jamaican dancehall artist Vybz Kartel be cut. In one of his first acts of business, Sturge, according to a legal source within the ministry, is prohibiting Vybz Kartel from 2 media interviews and other events. The artist, as known as Adidja Palmer, is scheduled to arrive in the country on May 26th in preparation for his concert on May 31st. According to an immigration order, Sturge blanked Palmer a morning radio interview, that's not us, a midday TV appearance, and a local press drop-in on May 27th. He also blocked a meet and greet, a visit to a school or youth center, a cultural lunch with community leaders, and an official meet and greet on May 28th. In an official response to the media, Sturge, after questioning how the media became aware of his orders, confirmed the adjustments, saying based on Palmer's past legal troubles, he was concerned about him interacting with the country's vulnerable youth. Isn't that something?
Yeah.
We don't need this another war with Jamaica, you know, Richard.
What is that?
We don't need another diplomatic war with Jamaica.
So does it mean also that he would not get a permit to do the concert also?
No, the concert is going on, but the other things apparently he is restricted based on this article. So we'll hear more about that. We need to get Minister Wayne Sturge online, you know. But anyway, we have Minister Khadija Amin tomorrow, God willing, Minister of Local Government and Rural Development, all right? She will be our guest tomorrow, one of our guests, all right? So guys, Richard is muted again. Maybe he's dealing with some business again. You know, I ain't taking no book from him again.
So while he's doing his stuff, let me just remind people, so when we come off of the YouTube and Facebook stream, you can still get us. You only have to just come across to our website at www.newerattradio.com. You can also get us at New Era TT Radio on TuneIn, and we look forward to you joining us on those platforms. And we also have a TikTok page, you know. We want you guys to go up and check out our TikTok. Look for The Breakfast Show.
on the TikTok page because we need some people to join it.
Like and share, like and share, people.
Like and share, like and subscribe. It's important. Apparently, Amanda wants to come in and tell you something.
Amanda wants to talk to me? Put her back on, please.
Wendell, thanks for doing my job. We will work on it in the newsroom. Wendell, thanks.
So all the people out there who are Amanda, back off, okay? I've said it many times.
You say thanks for doing her job.
Oh my word. Amanda saucy.
All right, both of us are one now. So
Amanda real saucy, Wendell.
Thank God she's not a red woman.
Okay, Papa. You know what? This is a good space on which to end. Thanks for joining us on the Breakfast Show. It's Thursday. The weekend begins tonight. People in the second half to midnight. Have a fantastic day, whatever you do. Remember to smile and laugh. It's great for your health.
All right. Don't forget reruns on M&E TV at 2 p.m. this afternoon. Don't miss it.
All right. You finish?
Yeah. One life. Live it.
Yep. All right. This has been The Breakfast Show.
Wake up, it's a brand new dawn. The Breakfast Show got the vibes turned on. From Maracas Bay to the Savannah line, let's start the day in Caribbean prime. Good vibes rolling through the air. The Breakfast Show